What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Blazers Uprise Live. Here on a Monday, starting off your week, right? It's just me today. Eric is doing something. I don't know if he's on vacation. I assume he's on vacation. Hopefully he's on vacation. Don't know where he is or what's going on. He just won't be here this week, so it'll be a couple solo streams. So these streams will probably go a little bit shorter. I'll probably do a Q&A next Thursday and just get a bunch of stream questions and make it a more laid-back stream. Obviously, there's not much to talk about right now. It's the middle of July, but we do have a couple things that I want to touch on in this stream. I want to touch on the Kevin Durant situation and talk about the latest update, which is that the Boston Celtics could be a serious player for him. And then I want to talk about how the Blazers are getting shorted by Vegas once again. They weren't shorted last year. I would have said they were shorting them last year. But this year, I think they're shorting them again, and I'm more confident that I'm right. And we will have a stream sometime before the season talking about over-under win totals and what we think good bets might be. But I want to talk about how Vegas apparently thinks that the Blazers over-under win total should be 40.5, which I think is crazy. We'll talk about that. What's going on? Eric's in chat. Eric, hope you're doing well, whatever you're doing, man. Hopefully all you guys are having a good day. Now, earlier today, I dropped a minutes breakdown video talking about different lineups, different rotations, some of my thoughts on that. Definitely go check that out if you want to after the stream. I want to do a stream where we go more in depth talking about different lineup combinations and whatnot, but I don't want to do that on my own because I definitely want Eric's opinions on that. So we'll probably do something like that next week. I will drop a mailbag after this video. I posted a community tab prompt in the main channel community tab for mailbag questions. So if you want to ask one, go over there and hit me up with one. If you're only familiar with this channel somehow, this is our second channel. Our main channel is linked in the description box below. Anyway, what's up? Taylor, Clearly a Bot, CJ the Goat, P-Town Made, Perk Nowitzki. Hope you guys are having a good night, man. Let's just jump into the Kevin Durant stuff. So, Adrian Wojnarowski tweeted out last night an article of his in which he was discussing how the Celtics are very interested in Kevin Durant and are making a play for him. And basically, there was a lot of fluff to it. But the Celtics look like they are a player for Kevin Durant. So I want to talk about what a package might look like and why I think that the Celtics might end up trading for him. And then we'll talk about good old Vegas. And then I want your guys' opinions on a couple things channel-wise after that. Obviously, it's been Phoenix for KD. Apparently, KD wants to go there. I saw a tweet today that said KD is obsessed with going there, which is just weird. But of course, he's obsessed with going to a 64-win team. That's just kind of what KD does. But Boston might be a team that could make a play. Of course, it's a 64-win, 1 seed from the West, or the Eastern Conference champion from the NBA playoffs. One of them seems like one of those two destinations. Or it's maybe the Raptors doing what they did with Kawhi this time with KD. But Boston has kind of emerged as a team that could be a destination for Kevin Durant, and the main reason is that they have Jaylen Brown, which is probably the best young star that Brooklyn can get for KD, at least this offseason. I've been on the record saying I think there's a really good chance that KD and Kyrie just run it back one more year in Brooklyn, and then Brooklyn agrees to trade KD if he wants out next offseason. The reason I think that is because I don't think the trade market is what it needs to be for Kevin Durant. You just don't have enough teams out there willing to give up what it should take to get Kevin Durant, or being able to give up what it would take to get Kevin Durant. Portland's in the latter boat. They can't trade Anthony Simons. Shaedon Sharpe isn't enough. They can't trade their future picks as they owe their 2023 first to Chicago. So the trade market just is not what it should be for Kevin Durant. That's why I think there's a good chance he ends up staying in Brooklyn. But Boston, apparently being enamored with the idea of Kevin Durant, might make it so that a deal happens this offseason because Jaylen Brown might be the best asset that the Nets can get back. Phoenix is The best Phoenix can give up for Kevin Durant is Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, filler salary that doesn't really matter to Brooklyn, and then 4 unprotected future firsts and 3 first swaps. Now, the picks are nice, but with KD there, who knows when those picks get good? Who knows when, those picks aren't the end of the first round? Late first round picks don't really matter for Kevin Durant, so it really comes down to a couple unprotected future first years from now, once the Suns are bad, as well as Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. But both those guys are role players and probably not ever going to be better than role players. On the other hand, Boston has Jaylen Brown, who last season, let me look up his stats right now. I don't know if he was an all-star last season or if it was just the season before. I can find that out right now, actually. Basketballreference.com. Yeah, he wasn't an all-star this season, but was the year before. 25 years old, so still relatively young. Coming off back-to-back seasons in which he averaged around 24 points per game, 6 rebounds, 3.5 assists. Shooting, he shot 40% from 3 last year, only 36% this year, but has defensive potential. He's inconsistent defensively, but he is capable of being a good defensive player. It's just the consistency for him. That's a star caliber talent, though. 24, 6, and 3.5 for a guy that can play the 2 or the 3. That is a young star with multiple years ahead of him, and that is a better commodity than Mikal Bridges. So, Eric, let me know in chat, since you're here in chat, what Boston's pick situation is, if they're able to trade all their future firsts, or if they owe one. I know they traded for Derek White. I think they owe a future first to San Antonio because of Derek White. So they might not be able to attach the same amount of picks. I think they can attach 3 first-round picks and then a couple of swaps. I think that's a better package than Phoenix can give up for Kevin Durant. So I think it comes down to, is Boston willing to give up that for KD? I mean, you're talking about a team that just made the finals. And they were competitive in the finals. They lost, but they were competitive. They were on the doorstep to a championship. You sub out Jaylen Brown and bring in Kevin Durant, and that's the favorite, absolutely the favorite in the East next year. And if they had Kevin Durant this year in place of Jaylen Brown, they'd probably win in the NBA Finals. They'd probably beat the Golden State Warriors, and Kevin Durant would be happy that he proved that he could. You'd have Jason Tatum there as well as another superstar, kind of, but Jason Tatum's not Steph Curry. Kevin Durant, would have proven that he can lead a team to a championship, and beating Golden State would have been nice. So I know all the rumors are that Kevin Durant is enamored with Phoenix, and it has to be Phoenix. He doesn't want to go anywhere else, but I don't think he refuses to play with Jason Tatum in Boston, a Boston team that would be the favorite in the East. And I don't think he gives up money to sit out because of that. So I think Boston could be a serious landing spot for Kevin Durant. Eric Brandt says they owe a 2023 first to Indy for Brogdon. Yeah, that's right. I forgot they traded for Brogdon. So it might come down to the picks, but when you're giving up a superstar player, you want a all-star caliber piece back, whether that's a super high draft pick where you can draft potentially a generational talent, Apollo Banchero. He's not generational, but a guy that I would be more surprised if Banchero doesn't end up an all-star at this point. Or Wembanyama next year, who's considered a generational prospect, like 7'4" or something crazy like that, moves like a guard, handles the ball like a guard, Rudy Gobert-esque rim protection ability. Like, you either need a young piece like that has a really good chance of being an all-star, potentially even a superstar, or you need a younger piece now that's already an all-star caliber player. That's the problem with the Phoenix Suns package, in my opinion, is they can't give either of those things. Mikal Bridges is not an all-star. He's a really good defender, phenomenal role player, but when you're talking about trading for Kevin Durant, you got to talk in terms of having all-star caliber players on the table. And Mikal Bridges is a step below that. Cam Johnson is a couple steps below that, and then you're talking about future picks. Who knows how good or bad they might be. For a guy who's a superstar, that's not enough. I mean, Gobert, who's not a superstar, can't lead a team on his own. Utah's struggled defensively, probably due to the players around him more so than Gobert, but they haven't had playoff success, and Gobert still fetched 4 future firsts. So when you're talking about a superstar, you got to get back an all-star caliber piece or a likely future all-star caliber piece. Phoenix can't offer that, in my opinion. Boston has that in Jaylen Brown. So that is potentially the difference for me and might be the difference for Brooklyn. However, I wouldn't be surprised if Brooklyn just plays hardball and says, you know what, KD, you have 4 years left on your contract. Kyrie Irving opted back into his contract. We want to try and make it work next season with both you guys here. And then if you still want out next offseason, if we can't repair and mend these bridges, then we will trade you for sure if you want out. I think there's still a decent chance that happens and Brooklyn plays hardball that way. I don't think KD says, no, I want out or I'm sitting out and giving up, almost $1 million a week. He's making $44 million next year. I think there's a chance that he ends up going back. But it's just going to be interesting to see how Brooklyn continues to play this. I don't think Brooklyn's in a position where they have to make a desperation move and just cave into where KD wants to go. That's my opinion. That's how I see this playing out. Eric says, yeah, they owe a 2023 first to Indy for Brogdon, and then 2028 is a pick swap with San Antonio. So they could trade their 2025 first. I don't know the protections on that 2023 first to Indy, but, Boston would probably unprotect it if they're getting KD because that would be a low draft pick anyway. So you're looking at a 2025 first and a 2027 first and a 2029 first. Maybe they can't give up one of those first. But if that's truly the case, then Boston can get close to matching the picks that Phoenix would give up for KD. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. This is really the one major thing to talk about at this point in the offseason is the Kevin Durant saga, which has just died down. DeAndre Ayton can't be traded. Phoenix was the landing spot, but I don't think Phoenix is going to happen. Other than that, it's just really talking about what this Blazer team could look like next year. When is the mailbag coming out, says Jonathan Yu? After the stream. You could see a dark horse candidate come into play for Kevin Durant if his value is lower than expected for that said team. I don't know what dark horse team that could be. You could let me know in the chat what you think could be a dark horse team for Kevin Durant. Anyway, Trevin says, what about the Colin Sexton saga? I got asked that in the mailbag, and I'm going to try and answer it in the mailbag, but I don't even know what to say about Colin Sexton. It's just like no team wants to pay him what he thinks he's worth, and he's coming off an injury. It's just a very messy restricted free agent situation. I have no idea what happens with Colin Sexton, but that is another thing to watch. I'm very intrigued. It's just you don't have teams with cap space. Maybe, you got Indiana as a team with cap space, but they have Halliburton. They just took Mathurin. They have Duarte. They don't really need a Colin Sexton, and I don't like Colin Sexton's fit with that group at all. Colin Sexton's just kind of, he puts up numbers. He put up numbers on a bad team, then got injured. He's probably best as a sixth man. It's just a really weird situation. The other team with cap space is San Antonio, but San Antonio is absolutely tanking next season for Victor Wembanyama, and I don't know. Colin Sexton seems like a player that might drive Greg Popovich crazy and into retirement if they don't get, of course, Wembanyama, who is just a very Spurs-esque type of player. Like, I could see him being a, 15-time All-Star, next Spurs legend. Those are the only two teams with cap space. So maybe a team tries to sign and trade for him, but then you're talking hard cap. It's just, it's hard to say at this point. And not a lot of teams need point guards. If Colin Sexton was a forward, then he'd probably have a home by now, because the point guard position is just absolutely loaded in the NBA. It's hard to find a team with a starting point guard worse than a Colin Sexton. The problem is, I don't even know if Colin Sexton's a point guard. He might be a 6'1" 2 guard. That's, so I don't know what's going to happen with Colin Sexton. It's going to be hard to answer that question in the mailbag in a efficient manner, because it's just a really, I don't know. I could see him signing the qualifying offer and returning to Cleveland. The question is, does he come off the bench then? And do they start Ochai Agbaji? Which probably would be the best move. Eric says, I'm right. Good. I got Eric's stamp of approval. Let's go. He said Boston can trade 2025, 2027, and 2029 first. And then I assume they could do a swap in 2026. Mike the Plug says, how much better is Brunson than Sexton? I think Brunson's a better defensive player. He's more efficient, makes the right play more often than not. Doesn't force some questionable shots, which Colin Sexton does. So I think Brunson is just better. And he's not coming off an injury. So I'd say he's quite a bit more valuable. I don't think Colin Sexton is getting close to what Brunson got on the free agent market. All right, so let's talk Vegas. We don't really talk much about Vegas, but let's talk Vegas. So, Portland's over-under. I forget which sports book set this. Maybe one of you in chat can let me know. But I saw that Portland had a listed over-under win total in some Vegas sports book of 40.5 wins. I think, obviously, anything can happen. Last season is a testament to that, where the Blazers tanked the second half of the year because Dame was hurt, right? So, obviously, if Dame gets hurt and we have another season like that, the Blazers might win 22 games. I don't know. But, if everyone's healthy, I don't see any way the Blazers aren't at least 500. Because when was the last time a Blazers team with a healthy Damian Lillard was under 500? Maybe the bubble year? That's about it, but that was a really messy season. The Blazers were playing Mario Hezonja and Anthony Tolliver minutes and had to go sign Carmelo Anthony. They lost 2 starters. Hassan White's, they lost 3 starters basically because you already had Nurkic out, and then Zach Collins and Rodney Hood went down. So they didn't have 3 starters. That's really the only time a healthy Dame-led team hasn't been above 500. I forget what the record was that year. Chat, let me know. I'm forgetting stuff off the top of my head. Other than that, Brady came in the chat and said, imagine me not being mod yet, and Trevin deleted it, so Trevin is worried that he's going in for a spot. That's funny. Chat, let me know what the record was, the Blazers bubble year, because I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I think they were still right around 500, if I recall correctly. I know they were right around 500. A healthy Blazers team under Damian Lillard has always been an above 500 team. Always. Always, always, always. Now, of course, they had CJ McCollum as well, but a healthy Dame-led team has always been above 500 unless they were missing 3 starters. When you sports bet, and I'm not, advocating sports betting or anything right now, but you got to look at things logically. You cannot bet emotionally. That's when you get burnt. And this is coming from a guy who's never even sports bet. But it's common sense. You don't want to bet on Portland winning a bunch of games if their over-under's 50 because you're biased and you think they're going to win 60. So for betting on the Blazers, I'm simply going to look at what history has told us and what the pattern is. And the pattern is, and history has told us, that a healthy Dame-led team is an above 500 team. Is close to a 50-win team. So the fact that the over-under numbers, the over-under totals this year is around 40, is around 500. A 41-41 record is 500. I think this is relatively easy money on a bet, in my opinion. This is not betting advice whatsoever. Just my opinion. I think that's easy money. 35-39, the Blazers were the bubble year. A season when they basically missed 3 starters all year long. And had to start Melo and play Anthony Tolliver and Mario Hezonja, and were starting Hassan Whiteside flexing when he was down 20. They still were almost 500. So, it's baffling to me that is the line this year for the Blazers winning games. I might have to sports bet for the first time in my life. Trevin said, no, don't say easy money. That's the jinx word. Here, I'll knock on wood for you, Trevin. I'll knock on wood for you. Way too low. Absolutely way too low. And the Blazers, it's funny, man, because a lot of people said that they liked the Blazers offseason. A lot of national people, and they get Gary Payton II, phenomenal defensive player, stole him from Golden State. They added Jeremy Grant, that's the forward they've needed for a while. Anthony Simons last year looked like a star at times. You got Josh Hart. I'm just confused because a lot of times when Vegas set a line too low in terms of Blazers wins, it was coupled with the narrative around the team being, they're overrated, and they're running it back again, and we saw, that it didn't work, they got swept by the Pelicans, so they're not winning many games this year. It was coupled with a negative narrative, but the narrative around the team, at least across the league and from a lot of media members, hasn't been negative. It's been generally positive, about as positive as I've been about this team. Yet the win line is 40.5, or right around there, which is just confusing to me. So I won't say it's easy money, okay, because that's a jinx phrase popularized by one Eric Brandt, but too low. We will have an episode looking at win totals that are too low, too high. We did that the first year we ever started this channel, before we even did post-game shows. We used to call it the Uprise podcast, and we used to pre-record them. And actually, the first Uprise podcast, which basically became Blazers Uprise Live. We don't call ourselves a podcast anymore. But basically, the Uprise podcast became this show. The first one we ever did of these was me and Eric recording together in person, which is like the only time we've done that. Other than the first stream we ever did together. And we did over-under win totals. And I think I did pretty well. So I think we picked 3 that were too high, 3 that were too low. So we're going to do that again this year and see who is right, see who is wrong. Anyway, my prediction, the over-under win total should be about 45.5 for Portland. 45.5. I still think, if I had to pick where this team ranks in the West, I would still say like 7th. But I think they are one of those teams with a relatively high ceiling because they do have the defensive pieces to maybe make them a respectable defensive team. And if they're a respectable defensive team, given the offensive firepower they have, they could be a home court advantage team in the West. And we've seen that in years past when Al-Farouq Aminu and Mo Harkless are starting. Very questionable offensive players, but they made Portland a good enough defensive team that they were getting 3 seeds. So obviously there's a lot more questions that go into that. Gary Payton II, Josh Hart are smaller than Mo and Chief were. And you got Simons instead of CJ McCollum. So, there's a lot of differences, but I think it just comes down to, can they be an average defense? If they're an average defense, they are winning more than 40.5 games. And honestly, given the fact that you made some defensive upgrades and have Chauncey Billups and Dame's healthier than ever, I don't think an average defense is too far-fetched at all. Taylor Packer says, I remember that one dude who picked the Lakers as a 7 seed last year and y'all were laughing at him. That was Zach, our mod Zach. I think he said they were going to be an 8 seed. And I thought he was trolling because Zach's, a lot of our mods, for whatever reason, when you get modded by us, you just become a troll. A lot of our mods just absolutely troll us. Trevin's in here. I think he might be the only mod in here. Eric doesn't count because he's a co-host, but he's modded. Trevin can attest to that. Thanks for being here, Trevin. Maybe we need to add another mod spot next year. Because I'm not going to remove anybody, but haven't seen Zach in a while. Haven't seen Jackson a whole lot lately. They got things going on, and it's the middle of the summer, so I'm not blaming them. But and it's not like we have the bots are gone. Unfortunately, Taylor Packer, your favorite thing in the world, man. Your bots are gone. The only bot here is clearly a bot. Krish is here. What's up, Krish? Speaking of Krish, you guys should give him some love for that Blazers edit he did earlier today. I'm going to plug it in the chat, Krish. Krish is our graphics guy. In case you're new to the channel, Krish is our graphics guy, helps us with a lot of graphics, but makes insane edits. Absolutely ridiculous Ridiculously good edits. There's his latest one. I think that one was phenomenal. Krish made the Kevin Durant Dame Lillard jersey swap that was on SportsCenter and all over the place. So Krish is big time. Krish is more popular than we are. He's the most popular member of the channel. So yeah, Krish's edits are insane. Anyway, I'll take questions for a bit. Not a whole lot to talk about, obviously, so I'll let you guys kind of lead the conversation here. And then Thursday I'll probably just do another Q&A, another shorter stream. And that's just, we're going to kick back and relax. Boba says, do you notice how much Shaedon says compete in his interviews? Shaedon's interviews, man. I mean, it was obvious he got fed a few different things that he should say and was just kind of repeating it. And it was probably by his agent. His agent didn't want him to say anything bad, want him to say the right things. But Shaedon Sharpe isn't a guy who's really dealt with interviews a whole lot. That's why I wasn't, going to base much off his interviews in the pre-draft process. But yeah, he just kind of said the same answers to different questions. But there's an interview recently where he seemed more himself, which was cool. So I think it's going to take some time for him to, open up and kind of be himself. This is probably a lot for a kid who didn't even play in college to make that jump to the NBA and have all this attention and whatnot. Taylor Packer says, I asked this on your Reddit post, but I noticed you had Hart as the 3 in both your minute breakdown lineups. Is Hart for sure a better wing defender than Gary Payton II? I've never watched GP2. Well, I dropped a rotation video earlier today, and I touched on, you don't have to pigeonhole. If Gary Payton and Josh Hart are on the court together with, Anthony Simons in the bench unit, you don't have to pigeonhole one of Gary Payton or Josh Hart as the 2 or the 3. It was just easier, for the most part, to just list Gary Payton II as the backup guard in those lineups. And he's a little bit shorter, so I just figured that makes sense. But a lot of times you could probably see a bench lineup that consists of Simons, Gary Payton II, and Josh Hart. But, Gary Payton II might be guarding the small forward or even the power forward, if it's LeBron or somebody. It just depends on the matchups and whatnot. So those guys aren't pigeonholed into specific positions. Hopefully that answered your question. Trevin says, Tori making Reddit posts. Yeah, I made a Reddit post today. I'm going to start hanging out in the Reddit more. I figured you were lonely over there, Trevin, so I figured I'd hang out with you on Reddit a little bit more. Rohan asks, if Boston trades Jalen for KD, do you think Brooklyn is willing to move Jalen or Simmons, or do you think they just run Kyrie, Simmons, and Brown for a year? If they did that, they should trade Kyrie, but if you're not getting back anything worthwhile, then I guess you just keep him. Simmons has, no trade value now at this point. So you're stuck in a really tough spot, because that's a first-round exit at best, probably a play-in team. And Kyrie has no long-term upside. If you go for Jaylen Brown, you're looking for more long-term upside. Simmons, maybe, because he's still young. But with all the stuff surrounding him, that's not somebody I'd want as, a core foundational piece, because I don't think you can consistently rely on him. And you can't rely on Kyrie. Kyrie's just older, so he makes even less sense. But their trade value is less than their talent. So you're probably worse off just getting rid of those guys for nothing, because they're still talented players. Your best bet is probably hanging on to them, hoping they play well next year, hoping Simmons plays well and recoups some of his trade value, And then at the deadline, maybe a team is desperate for a point guard. Maybe they lost a point guard to injury and they're willing to trade for Kyrie and give up more. Or, a team sees Simmons after playing all year and is like, that's the defensive guy we need, and is willing to give up value for him. I think that's the play if you're Brooklyn. Favorite Brandon Roy moment? What's funny is that buzzer beater against Houston, that insane fadeaway off the inbounds with 0.8 left. I didn't watch that live. I don't know why. And then that Dallas Mavericks comeback game, I didn't watch that live because I was playing high school ball and we had a summer game. I was getting updates from who at the time was my mom's boyfriend. He was sitting in the stands like, yeah, they're down 20. I'm like, oh, thank goodness I'm not watching this and I can just focus on my own game. And then he was, the bench got pretty into it because he's like, they're down 15. They're down 10. Brandon Roy's going off. So I never, probably what would be my two top moments for him, I didn't actually watch live, which kind of sucks. In terms of stuff that I watched live, probably when he dropped 52 against Phoenix. That was probably my favorite moment. Because that was a nationally televised game where he just put himself on the map against a really good Phoenix team who we seem to never be able to beat. So that was a really underrated Brandon Roy moment. Luis Nunez says, what do you think ends up happening with Utah if Mitchell gets traded? Do you think they'll trade all their vets? If they're trading Mitchell, they absolutely will try and trade all their vets because I think the plan is to go full OKC. They already got 4 firsts for Gobert. They can expect more for Mitchell. New York positioned themselves for Donovan Mitchell by trading the 11th pick for basically 3 future firsts. And, New York can trade 8 future firsts. So that's what I think ends up happening. If Mitchell gets traded, he's going to end up in a Knicks uniform. And Utah's going to get 6, 7 firsts for him. And for Mitchell and Gobert, have 11 firsts in return. And then maybe you can get a first for Bogdanovich. You're not getting a first for Mike Conley. He's overpaid and kind of washed at this point. But you can probably get a first for Bogdanovich. You could probably get maybe a couple seconds for Clarkson. I don't know if you can even get positive value for Mike Conley. But at that point, then you're tanking next year in play for Wembanyama. Next year is an absolutely loaded draft. And then you have 12 future firsts on top of that. And you're just kickstarting a rebuild. Which I don't hate at all because they were stuck in a position where they could not contend. But they weren't bad enough to get young talent. So it's probably the right move, just taking a step back, rebuilding, and trying to become a contender, 5, 6, 7 years down the line. They also got a pick for Royce O'Neal. Good point, Alex Wolf. So, yeah. I think they're looking to trade Mitchell. I think they're looking to trade pretty much anybody. Problem is, Blazers aren't in position to capitalize on any of it. So, it doesn't really affect Portland, unfortunately. But it takes a team out of the West, and the West is loaded next year. So, Utah, I would be happy if they traded Mitchell to the Eastern Conference, absolutely. Luis says they might have screwed up the market with that Gobert trade. Yeah, I mean, if you're Brooklyn, you can't sit there and trade code. You can't trade KD for what the Timberwolves traded for Gobert. You're just asking to get yourself fired. You gotta get back much more. So, yeah, he might have screwed up the trade market with KD a little bit. But, I mean, we were talking about KD. KD deserves a much bigger package than that. You're talking about a superstar. A guy who, some people think he's washed. He still averaged 30 a game last year. And averaged almost 6 assists per game or something like that. KD is still that guy. All right, chat, I got a question for you guys. Just kind of random off-the-wall question related to this second channel. And I'm going to do a chat poll. The question is, do you think we should change the thumbnails, maybe come up with a different template for Blazers Uprise Live? Or do you like just the Blazers Uprise Live along the bottom with the red background? That's my question. I'm going to do a chat poll. Because I've been thinking about trying to do something different, but I don't know, so I'm just going to let you guys decide. Run this thing like a democracy. Anyway, also channel related, after the mailbag tonight, tomorrow we will have a Trade Talk Tuesday, and I'm going to talk about how the Blazers position themselves for the deadline. Like what salaries. I mean, they have salaries of all sorts. They obviously just can't take back a bunch more salary because they're hard capped, but I'll kind of talk about their position in terms of the trade market next year. I got, I think, 1 or 2 questions on that in the mailbag. I'll just answer it in the Trade Talk Tuesday video, and then I'll do like an off-season recap and Blazers Pulse. I plan on doing a video every day for the rest of July, and then taking a break in August and focusing on some other things. Alright, so 26 votes. 58% of you have voted yes, we should change up the Blazers Press Live thumbnails. 43% have said no. Definitely vote in that poll, because I've been thinking about rebranding. Eric, what do you think? Eric, let me know what you think. Should we change up the Blazers Press Live thumbnails? Alex Wolf says, how many trade exceptions does Portland have left? They have a $6.5 million traded player exception from Robert Covington and a $3.2 million traded player exception from Nickeil Alexander-Walker. However, the Blazers can't just use the Rocco TPE right now because I believe... I mean, you could use part of it, but with the hard cap, you can't take back a bunch more salary already. So... Mike Posner says, Tori, you should pull up both Minnesota and Portland's depth charts side by side. I was looking at them today, and I really don't think they're better than us. Minnesota was really good offensively last year, but really terrible defensively. So for them, much like for Portland, it comes down to how good can they be defensively. The thing is they went about addressing their defensive issues the complete opposite way than Portland did. Portland doubled down on going small and got Gary Payton II, probably the best defensive player on the free agent market. And then the Timberwolves got the best defensive player on the trade market and went big with Gobert. So will Gobert make Minnesota a borderline top 10 defense? If so, then it's going to be really hard for Portland to be better than Minnesota. And Minnesota could be like the Grizzlies were last year and be a 2 seed. Right? Nobody would have predicted Memphis to be a 2 seed last year. So it's kind of hard to say because obviously when you look at individual players, the better players are usually good offensively. Like the best players in the league are good offensive players. It's hard to judge Minnesota's roster versus Portland's because the differentiating factor just comes down to probably who the better defensive team is. And both teams have some good defensive players and some question marks and some questionable fits with their direction and kind of how they're building their team. Shout out Mike Aldridge, $5 dono. Thank you, Mike. He says, the projected minutes video you dropped was outstanding. Thanks for keeping the content coming. Thanks for the support, man. I'm glad you enjoyed that. I've been enjoying just trying to come up with every type of video possible this offseason. I've probably dropped more videos this offseason than I have in the 3 off-seasons past, all combined. I've enjoyed putting out a lot of videos. And I'm glad you guys are enjoying them. That makes it worth it for me. So appreciate the dono, Mike Aldridge. You guys aren't helping me make up my mind with this chat poll. 49% say we should change the thumbnails. 51% say no. Eric says, I like how it is, but I'm also the worst person to ask about that kind of stuff. Well, that's why I'm asking chat. Because honestly, I'll ask Eric, and he'll just be like, yeah, I think it's fine, but I don't know. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do either, man. We're stuck. But, yeah. Maybe next season. Maybe I'll just write out these thumbnails for us off season. Maybe next season. Maybe I'll hit up Krish and see if Krish comes up with a good template. I don't know. I don't even know what I'd do though. Jonathan says, I'm not going to lie, I'm starting to fall off the Nas train. Have expectations risen or decreased for him this upcoming season? I was just talking to Stephen Vaughn, who's at 750 AM local sports radio. I was just talking to him about Nas, and Nas is an interesting case because he's like close to being really good, but I wouldn't say he's good yet. Like, there are certain guys who like just need small improvements or to be a little bit more consistent to go from just like a mediocre role player to a really good player. Like, Nas is one of those guys, and it's kind of hard to explain, but the problem is he's not consistently a good enough shooter yet, but he's close. He's had months where he shot the ball phenomenally, and he's had months where he can't make a three. And when he can't make a three, teams don't respect him, and he can't space the floor, and they just kind of pack the paint a little bit more on Damian Lillard, Anthony Simons, and it makes it harder for the offense to function. But he's a good enough shooter where I wouldn't be surprised at all if he shot 36% consistently next season. Wouldn't be surprised at all. And if he does that, then he's a consistent floor spacer. And then you got guys closing out on him because he's a respectable three-point shooter, and then he can attack those closeouts and use his athleticism, slashing downhill to the rim, and it opens up his entire game. Meanwhile, defensively, he had moments where he was really, really good last year against star players on the ball. I think he needs to be a little bit more consistent there, but he wasn't a plus defensively because he was a mess off the ball. He was lost off the ball. The problem is the whole team was lost off the ball, so I don't know how much of that was... I mean, a lot of his mistakes he has to take the responsibility for, and they were his fault, but with how much of a mess we were in terms of team defense last year, I don't know how much blame he should get for that. And if he can just clean up his defense off the ball and become just a little bit more consistent of an on-ball defender, all of a sudden he's a really good defensive player. So for a guy like Nas, he's very close to being like the type of small forward the Blazers need. And it's possible that he is that next year. But his lack of consistency and some of his issues make it where he might not be a guy that really helps the team win next season. And the problem is he can't stay consistently healthy, which probably doesn't help with that. So there's like a fine edge for Nassir Little, in my opinion, between just being like another guy and a guy that's really, really good. And that's why he gets a lot of hype, is because the positive flashes are exactly what this team needs out of a small forward. It's just pulling it all together and being consistent. And that's what it comes down to for Nassir Little. Jonathan Yu says, like, he's the most recent version of Zach Collins for us, but as a guard/forward type. The thing is Zach Collins physically there was nothing that separated him from the pack in terms of athleticism or physical profile, whereas Nassir Little, insane wingspan, really good athlete, like, that separates him. So naturally, he's going to have a little bit more upside than a Zach Collins. But then I also think, he's not a big, so of course he's going to have more ball handling ability, more potential as somebody on the perimeter. But I don't know. His game is... I think he has upside off the dribble. I don't know if he's going to realize that, but Zach Collins was never a guy you were going to give the ball to and he was going to go make something happen, where Nassir Little, in the best case scenario, could be. So that's where I think he's different than Zach Collins. How much would I pay Little next summer? I have no idea. Depends on how he plays this year. This is a make or break year for Nassir Little. If he gets hurt again, I would pay him less because he hasn't proven that he can consistently stay healthy. If he's healthy but he struggles shooting the ball, shoots like 31% from three, then probably less. If he plays consistently and shoots 37.5% from three and is a lockdown defender, then I'm willing to pay him more. So much like Ant last season, this contract year is a make or break year for Nassir Little. And I wouldn't even say break year, because I think even if he struggles, like, you still bring him back. You just bring him back cheaper. And maybe in the long run, that's actually a good thing. But some guys going into their 4th year of their rookie contracts, generally what their market is. Anthony Simons had no clue. Nassir Little, I have no clue. Taylor Packer says, if we have any injuries this year, I might just have to rage quit on my fandom. We need everyone to stay healthy. The thing is, unless it's Dame or Ant, I think the Blazers are in a position where they can withstand injuries to anyone outside of Yusuf Nurkic. Because the Blazers don't have enough center depth behind Yusuf Nurkic. And if Nurkic gets hurt, that could be a serious, serious problem. But even if Jeremy Grant misses some time, Jabari Walker, I believe in Jabari Walker, and he looked phenomenal in Summer League. And I think he's going to be a guy that can defend at a high level, be a positive defender, and a good enough three-point shooter to be like a good 3-and-D role player. And he's also showcased a couple flashes in Summer League of being able to do some other stuff on top of that. So if he has to get minutes because Grant misses time, I think the Blazers can withstand that. And then you look at all their guards, like if Gary Payton II misses some time, you have another athletic, good defensive guard that you can kind of plug into his role. And he's not going to be as good as Gary Payton, but he can do a lot of similar things where you don't have to switch things up a whole lot. And that guy is Keon Johnson. So I think you can withstand some injuries. If Josh Hart misses a little bit of time, Nassir Little, if he's playing well, gets more minutes, and then maybe you play more Justice Winslow. Maybe you play more Shaedon Sharpe. And then that's the thing. If there's injuries, maybe Shaedon Sharpe gets more minutes, and it clicks faster for him, and then all of a sudden he's helping the team a lot by the end of the year. So I'm not too worried about injuries, to be honest. Yeah. I think you just have a lot of guys that probably deserve more minutes than they're going to get, and you never want injuries to happen. You'd rather have a fully healthy team, but when you have a lot of depth and guys getting less minutes than they probably should get, if an injury happens, you're in position to withstand it. And, all of a sudden, Josh Hart, instead of maybe getting 25 minutes a game, is getting 32, which honestly, I think he's good enough to get 32 minutes a game. So I think we'll be fine. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. I think they're in a better position to withstand injuries than they were last year. Now, obviously, if you have like 5 different guys get hurt, then it's a different conversation. So hopefully that doesn't happen. I will always knock on my wooden desk anytime we talk about injuries. Just so you guys can say I didn't jinx it into happening or anything crazy. Mike Aldridge says, is there any way we could cut Didi Louzada to free up a roster spot? We could, but I think the team might try and duck the tax this year, and that would make it harder to duck the tax, and I just don't see them cutting him. I think maybe they try and trade cash and trade his contract to another team to save the money and then be able to sign someone, but I think they're just fine as is. I wouldn't expect anything different right now. Stat prediction for Sharpe, I have no idea. I could see him being insanely inefficient to start off his career, but that wouldn't make me down on his long-term upside. I could see him being decently efficient his rookie year. I don't even know if he's going to play enough to put up legitimate stats. So it's really hard to answer that. Is Nas a restricted free agent next year? Yes, he is. Every player who gets drafted in the first round and plays out their 4-year contract is a restricted free agent the first time they become a free agent, after that 4-year contract. They are a restricted free agent unless the team that has them doesn't give them a qualifying offer and wants to let them be an unrestricted free agent. So if you're drafted in the first round, you're given a 4-year contract. The 3rd and 4th years are team options. If you accept those, then you have the option of giving them a qualifying offer, which is, for Nas, I think it'd be about like $8 million off the top of my head. And Nas can accept that at any time, and that'd be his salary next year on a 1-year contract. Or he can wait and field offers in restricted free agency, and then the Blazers would have 2 days to match any offer he gets, much like the Suns did when DeAndre Ayton was signed by the Indiana Pacers to a max contract and they matched. They didn't take 2 days. They took like 2 minutes to match that, but that is the situation with Nas next year in free agency. Much like Anthony Simons. A lot of times you'll just see those guys resign. We just agreed with Anthony Simons to bring him back. But we were giving Anthony Simons a very generous deal. So in order to do that, we might have to give Nas a little bit more so he doesn't think, okay, I'm going to go try and fetch offers in the free agent market that are better than this. Connor McIntosh says, I like the way Portland slowly implements young guys into the rotation over a few years. CJ, Ant, Nas, and hopefully do the same with Sharpe. Yep, this season, I'm not gonna have a change of opinion on Shaedon Sharpe after this season unless he proves that he's gonna be a star. I'm not gonna all of a sudden be more negative on Shaedon Sharpe after this season. With Ant, his rookie year was like his college year, his redshirt year. Gary Trent Jr. didn't play his rookie year. CJ McCollum didn't play his rookie year. Not everybody can be Dame, so that's the thing. Ant didn't look special at all on the NBA court his rookie year. Even the last 2 years, his second and third years, he didn't look that special, man. And then he breaks out because he always had natural talent, the ability to shoot the ball, a quick shot, athletic ability, just needed to improve his off the dribble game, his ball handling, his playmaking. And within those 4 years, he did that, and all of a sudden he's a $25 million a year player and a starter and a potential star. So I'm going to have to try and keep people patient with Shaedon Sharpe because I feel like we're going to have a lot of premature opinions on him. I mean, we already saw it. We did the watch party for the first Summer League game. He plays 5 minutes, goes 1 for 3 with the turnover, and then gets hurt. And people in that stream were coming in there saying he was a bust, he was, not going to pan out, a stupid pick, all sorts of things. People weren't in there saying that at the start of the game, but because he got hurt 5 minutes into a freaking Summer League game, and it sounds like he's going to be ready for training camp, but because he got hurt and didn't get to play in Summer League, a lot of people were all of a sudden down on him. So I can only imagine if he gets some spot minutes or doesn't play at all or struggles a little bit, what some of the opinions on him are going to be. We're going to have to stay patient. And that's what I'm going to be preaching with Shaedon Sharpe all season long, is just be patient. And I'm going to point to guys like Nas, guys like Ant, guys like Gary Trent Jr., who we traded away, but guys that have been here, didn't do anything early on, and then became really good NBA players. Alex Wolf says Benedict Mathurin will be Rookie of the Year, calling it now. That's the thing, too, is if somebody taken right behind Shaedon Sharpe is playing great, people are going to be down on Shaedon Sharpe. That of course that's how it goes. We just gotta be patient with a dude who didn't play any college ball, still barely 19 years old. So that's what I'll be preaching. You guys won't see me getting too worked up or being too negative about Shaedon Sharpe, no matter what happens this year. I mean, if he comes in and plays 15 minutes a game and averages 20 points per game, then obviously I'm going to be pretty damn excited. So it's only positive takeaways this year, pretty much. Taylor Packer says, people were already calling him a bust. I mean, that's just absurd. Dude, it was insane. Because we had a lot of people on that watch party stream. A lot of people that were excited and bummed out that he got hurt. I was too. But a lot of people that just came in there, probably trolls that we shouldn't have even responded to, but there were so many of them. Connor McIntosh says, is your rookie of the is your rookie of the year prediction still Chet? I will have rookie of the year predictions before the season, but at this point, I don't see how you can't go with Banchero. Chet was my number one because I think long term he can have the biggest contribution to winning games with what he can do on both sides of the court. But Banchero is probably the safest pick looking back, and the most NBA ready guy. AZ Nightmare says, I like this, though. First time going into a season just being able to sit back and enjoy Blazers ball without high expectations. My expectations were really high last year. In the past, I've gotten a lot of heat for being too negative, but going into last season, I was getting heat for being too positive. Obviously, that didn't really work out. I think it worked out for different reasons than people thought. I don't think it was necessarily the size. I think you had an effort issue and players that just like didn't give effort, but then had a problem with Chauncey Billups calling that out. And Chauncey Billups probably improved as a coach and knowing how to deal with that type of stuff. But the Blazers were phenomenal at home, 10-1 to start the season at home, beating some really good teams, like blowing them out. Memphis, Phoenix. The problem was, on the road, they played with no effort, and they mentally were basically checked out from the opening tip. And they start 10-1 at home and 1-10 on the road. If they struggled only due to a lack of size, then I don't understand that disparity. So, last year I didn't think the size should hold them back as much as people thought. I don't think that was necessarily proven wrong, because I think last season played out due to other reasons. Size, obviously, it's helpful to have more size on the court, but I think the main issues were actually different last year. But regardless, I was super positive going into last year, and then when the team started struggling, and it was very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. I'm sure you guys could tell watching some of those streams. Is very disheartening. This year, I don't know what to expect, so I'm not really expecting anything, and I'm just going in like it's going to be fun to see what happens. It's going to be fun to see what the rotation is. It's going to be fun to see Dame next to Ant. It's going to be fun to see Dame healthy. Like, there's a lot of things to look forward to and a lot of storylines to look forward to. How does Chauncey manage this rotation is another one of them. You have some guys on this team that unquestionably will play hard night in, night out, every possession. Gary Payton II, Josh Hart. We didn't have that at the start of last season. So, it's going to be fun to have a team that plays harder. How does Jeremy Grant work in Portland? Like, there's so much to look forward to next year, but it doesn't come with the high expectations that I had last year, where I was like, I think this team is going to be a 4 seed, 5 seed, potentially a 3 seed. I think there's a chance it's a 7 or 8 seed because the West is stacked. So I'm just going to go into next year without many expectations, but looking forward to seeing a lot of the storylines play out and then being able to cover them, obviously. We're going to have a lot to talk about on post-game shows. So, and then, of course, I'm going to try my best to improve the post-game shows next year like I try and do every year and bring some new elements, some new things to that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward, man. I'm optimistic for the future, regardless if the Blazers struggle or not. I'm looking forward to, even if the Blazers are a 500 team and Vegas was right, it's the storylines and the intriguing aspects of this roster that I'm looking forward to seeing how they play out. So I will take enjoyment out of that, even if the team's losing. Obviously, it'd be nice for this team to just win every game, and then you can take enjoyment out of that as well. And then streams would be popping, but it's definitely a lot different going into next season without as high of expectations. So I'm definitely looking forward to next year. Taylor says there's going to be so much to talk about and analyze. I'm just excited for a fresh dynamic. The old lineup had a lot of talent, but it got stale. That is a good way to put it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Jonathan Yu says, could you potentially do a video in like December or something where you list out potential lineups with the successes that the team has faced? Let's talk in-season content, all right? Little teaser for those of you who joined me in a solo stream on a Monday at the end of July, all right? I appreciate you guys tuning in at the down point of the year. So, little teaser, some of my plans for season content. What's up, Definitive One? How's it going, man? So, I want to do 15 videos a month in the season next year. That's the plan right now. I might try and bring in a couple different sponsors for post-game streams just to make a little bit more off streams, which means I have to, if you guys don't know, I drive for Uber and DoorDash, and that's like what I do on the side. Allows me to tailor my hours around the channel a little bit more, but obviously if I have to do that less, then I can spend more time on the channel doing videos and that sort of thing. So post-game streams, we'll probably have a couple different like in-stream ads, not YouTube ads, but like ads that we actually put together, just to give myself a little bit more time to do videos, basically. If we're able to do that, then I think I could do 15 a month. I want to do, and I want your guys' feedback on all of this, all right? Because I've just started putting this together and thinking about next year. I want to do a mailbag every week, but I want to switch off between me and Eric. That's something that we did a little bit in the past, but a mailbag every Monday, but 1 week it's me, 1 week it's Eric, I think would be the best. So I'll have to see if Eric's up for that. But, like every other Tuesday, or maybe one out of every 3 Tuesdays, do a trade talk video. Every week I was thinking about trying to do stream highlights from the week prior, just from streams, and just condense it for those of you who missed streams or couldn't watch streams. And then, I don't know, it'd be cool every other week to do like ask a question on the community tab, or maybe even Reddit, and just get your guys' feedback and just read it off. YouTubers have done like Reddit videos in the past like that. That could be fun. And then I'll do random videos, like maybe a couple analytics stuff, which I haven't done enough of in the past. Just like taking a look at how lineups perform, like what their net rating is, what lineups are good, what lineups are bad, that sort of thing. So I'll do like random videos sprinkled in amongst those, where I like look at things like that, or I look at how a specific player is playing. Like if Sharpe gets minutes early on in the season, is playing really well, you could probably expect a video a month in, like Shaedon Sharpe looks like the real deal, something like that. That is the plan for next next year in terms of videos. Gabe, Tori, and Eric stream. LOL. Yeah, I'll have Gabe on. Maybe we'll do, or I'll go on his watch party because they do in-game streams. But yeah, let me know what you think about those video ideas for next year. That's kind of some of the things I want to do. Connor McIntosh says, Tori, have you heard about the 30 for 30 series Kenny Beecham is doing? He's looking for one YouTuber that covers each NBA team to do a video with. The first one came out today. I have not, but I would love to collaborate with Kenny Beecham. Yes, I've known Kenny Beecham as a YouTuber, I don't know him personally, never talked to him. He probably doesn't know who I am. But I've known of him for quite a while, because he used to do the 2K rebuilds and whatnot when I used to kind of be into those. I'm not anymore. I'm done with 2K. I've been done with 2K, but he does good content, man. He does good stuff. I really like his stuff, and that's a cool series. I would absolutely love to be the guy that collaborates with him, just as a fellow YouTuber who got my start just doing YouTube. I didn't do anything else. Me and Eric built stuff from the ground up on YouTube. So yeah, I would love to. You guys can send this clip to him. I don't know how he's finding his people, but I would love to. So yeah, if you guys want to go recommend us, maybe it'd be me and Eric, maybe me. I don't know. I don't know if he's taking only one person or, multiple people or whatever. But, yeah, definitely would be down to do it. Taylor says, what was the 2K that made you be done with it? This year was my last 2K. I always like franchise mode. And when they stopped giving a flying F about franchise mode and only put in effort for the modes that they could drive microtransactions off of, such as my team, that's when I was done. Because franchise mode doesn't have microtransactions, so of course they're not going to spend time on it. And it makes business sense, I guess. It's just greedy. I don't know. I don't like it. So I'm done with sports games. I play Rocket League. That's my sports game. Because it actually feels like playing a real sport. It's not an animation-based game where you press a button to make something happen. Everything is input-based in Rocket League. So, yeah. Pete Talmate said, you should play some Rec. I want to get a pickup run in August and do a video around it. That'd be fun. Just August content where there's nothing to talk about. September, the first 11 days, I want to do a top 100 series. Like I started to do last year, didn't finish it. I'm going to get ahead of that this year. And then we'll do player previews the rest of September. like the last 17 days of September or whatever. We'll do a mailbag in there, but we'll do player previews. And then in October, then we're getting into preseason and whatnot. So I plan on doing daily content starting back up September 1st. I'm not going to do much in August, but that'll give me a chance to get ahead, like really get ahead on stuff that'll be planned in September. AJ says we need that Gabe versus Tori 1v1. Man, I've been trying to get Gabe to fly out here to play this 1v1. Problem is, airline tickets are expensive. Everything's expensive now, but that would be a phenomenal video. Like, I would love to get Romp and Gabe out here and have Eric and do like a 3-point contest. And like Romp can do that for his channel, and then Gabe can do like, we can do King of the Hill for Gabe's channel, and then like me versus Gabe 1-on-1 or something like that for this channel. But yeah, I want to do more fun stuff like that. More, we just sit here talk about Blazers, and all the videos are Blazer related. It'd be fun to do more community stuff or just fun things like that, entertaining things, which is not going to be for everybody, but for those of you who know me and Gabe, I know some of you would enjoy that. So, is there a share ride app? I don't know what you mean by that, Blazer fan. When do I play Chiefin? Ask Chiefin. Eric says thumbs up to alternating mailbags. All right, that's something we're going to do next year. We're going to do alternating mailbags. Taylor Packer says a 1v1 me and hit me with the Kareem skyhook. I don't have a chance. I think I might be able to block that. How tall are you again, Taylor? I might be able to. No, I probably couldn't block that. That's unblockable if you do it right. I used to Kareem skyhook. I used to. I don't have it anymore. My bag is not what it used to be. 5'9". Hey, that's a good move to pull off if you're 5'9", man. Get Gabe to get there by car. Yeah, it might be more expensive. $5 a gallon. Gabe's in Texas. That's quite a ways. Anyway, I'll take a couple other questions then end the stream. Like I said, mailbag after this stream. I'll probably upload it like 2 a.m. in the morning tonight. Gotta rest my voice a little bit. Solo streams kind of take on my voice a little bit, and I'm finally over COVID and good to go. It's just like I can still feel like I can still feel it in my voice a little bit. So occasional cough is all I got, but yeah. So I'll probably drop the mailbag 2 a.m. And if you want to ask a question for that, go to the community tab of the main channel, link in description. But nah, Taylor, I don't have it anymore. But the cough lingers and whatnot. But yeah. So stay tuned for more videos. Oh, Blazer fan says that's why the share ride app question. You're saying Gabe should Uber from Texas to Vancouver, Washington. That'd probably be like thousands of dollars. I know Mr. Beast, I think, did a Uber video where he took an Uber like across the country. Thing is, the Uber is going to cost more now. And I think that was like thousands. So if only Gabe had Mr. Beast money and Mr. Beast subs, that would be awesome. What's up, Gianu? Jonathan, you says, I just thought of this, but could you create a what if series, a reoccurring series where we look at what if scenarios such as keeping Zach Collins, not trading CJ, etc.? That could be... Hey, man. That's a good idea. It would probably be best for, like, August? I might have to do that next off-season. Because I think I just need a break this August. On the videos and whatnot. So, that would probably be a good off-season series for sure. It's just, it would take a lot of planning that goes into that. So next off season, remind me if you remember. I'll write it down. I have a YouTube spreadsheet. I'll write that down. I've been wanting to do a video at some point why Blazer fans hate Raymond Felton, but I wouldn't want it to just be face cam the whole time, and with not messing with highlights and like not messing with stuff that could be copyright, it would be difficult to do that type of video the way I'd want to do it. So that's the only thing with videos like that. AJ says, can we get another Would You Rather for a stream? Absolutely. Absolutely. Some point in August. That's the thing. Since August, we don't really have much going on. We can do stuff like that, you know. So I'll write that down for August. In August, we're going to do a stream where we just talk about things we'd like to see in the next CBA for all you CBA nerds out there. One of them we've talked about, and how I think the NBA needs to make every team have a G League team and then have a true minor league system, 4-round draft, that sort of thing. But, you know, we'll talk about some other things in a stream where we want to see in the next CBA. Another stream, I want to take a first look at next year's draft class. Hopefully it's not a situation like this year, but I want to kind of get a little bit ahead because it's a really good draft class next year. But, yeah, we'll have time for like a Would You Rather stream. Which could be fun for sure. We'll have a stream where we look at like scheme breakdowns. We'll have like a stream looking at like over-under win total bets that we're confident in, that sort of thing. I have a lot of stuff planned. I'll just spend time sitting on Google Sheets just trying to come up with stuff, so I appreciate you guys contributing. Destrum, you said some insanely messed up things that aren't okay, and you just said some stuff that's not okay, man. It's in you coming in here saying that me and Eric need to kill the immaturity after the things that you said is not the way to go about things. Like if you say something that's kind of an unforgivable thing to say, if you say something messed up but then you want to mend bridges or like make it right, you don't go to people and say, let's be men and kill the immaturity. That's just not how you go about it, man. If you want to make things right. I can't say what he said. I can't say what he said. And I'm not, you know, I'm just responding because it's here in my chat, you know. You can email me, blazersuprise@gmail.com, because I obviously can't block you through email. But, yeah, if you're going to defend, I don't want to have a conversation with you if you're going to try and defend the things that you said, though. All right, so chat's just going to be curious as to what was said. Yeah. Anyway, if any of you, like, if anybody's watching this, if we've ever had a disagreement or I've blocked you on Twitter for something and you don't think it was fair, or, you know, you want to talk about it, you can always send me an email, blazersuprise@gmail.com. Or if you're in our Discord, you can send me a message on Discord. If you want to join our Discord, I'll post a link in the chat. I am not somebody who, like, wants to hold grudges against people or be at odds with people. So, if we've had a disagreement, maybe it got a little too heated or something, and you want to reach out to me, go ahead. Live stream chat probably isn't the best place to do that. Alex Wolf said he said he would beat Tori in Rocket League. That's funny. Yeah, chat is not the best place to do that. Because we have nothing to talk about, I responded it to in chat, but normally I don't know. We need to stop talking. I don't know. I'm not saying you're a troll or anything, but in general, like people that come here to try and troll us or try and get us to argue and that sort of thing, we probably respond to it too much. Well, if you guys want to know what was said, Eric posted in the chat. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, you just want us to see your views. No, that's not cool, man. Anyway. I was expecting Eric to just out it, man. Not laughing about what was said, just laughing. That's not something I'm comfortable saying on stream, because it's messed up. Anyway, let's just move on. Stream on Thursday. Eric won't be here for that. We'll do a Q&A or something. I'll figure something out. Obviously, it's tough. A, without Eric to conversate with, and then B, not much to talk about. And oh my goodness, oh, you guys can't even hear that because I don't have Eric. I don't have desktop audio, but my computer is giving me a bunch of notifications all of a sudden. Anyway. I hope everybody else has a good rest of your week. I hope you guys, are withstanding the heat. Hopefully you have AC. I don't. It's tough out here. We'll catch you again on Thursday. Mailbag later tonight. Go to the community tab if you want to ask a question. Trade Talk Tuesday on Tuesday. Wednesday. What do I have planned Wednesday? Let me look at my schedule. Wednesday, I'll do an off-season recap. Thursday, I will do an off-season review Blazers Pulse episode. So I will ask you poll questions in the community tab for a video that will come out on Thursday. So stay tuned for that. If you want to know when we are looking to interact with the community for a video, we will tweet it out. Follow our Twitter page, and you can turn on tweet notifications for our Twitter page, at Blazers Uprise YT. And a lot of times we'll tag anybody who's in our Discord when we are looking for stuff like that. So if you want to join our Discord, I just posted a link in the live stream chat. You can scroll up in that. I will also post it in the description. Because obviously we like to interact with you guys. And it makes for some good video content too. So yeah, Blazers Pulse on Thursday. David says, time to rewind to the start of the stream and listen from the top. Thank you, man. Shout out to everybody that, rewatches it. A lot of people just come in here halfway through streams or at the end of streams and say, talk about this. And it's something we talked about earlier in the stream. So I appreciate you just going back and rewatching the start, man. Always good to catch you. Anyway, our Twitter space is coming back this season. We will see. I don't know. I have to make a decision on that. Because I enjoyed Twitter Spaces. But it dragged out streams a lot. And it was tough for me. Like, I wanted to let people say everything they wanted to say, but, some callers would just talk in circles for 5-10 minutes. It was fine. It's just hard to find the right pace to that. And I don't want to be the one. I don't want to be somebody that cuts somebody off. So I know radio guys do it, but they're better at it than I am. It's hard to host, and I always feel bad if I don't let somebody say everything they wanted to say or ask every question they want to say, and it drags things out. So I'll have to figure out maybe a little better way to do Twitter Spaces next year. But I like letting you guys call in. I was always worried we'd get a troll calling in, but it was generally pretty fine. So if you guys really want Twitter Spaces back, let me know. Daniel, I need to, but I'm just trying to be tough, man. And just withstand the heat. Anyway, Eric will be back next Monday. I'll have another solo stream on Thursday. Hopefully we can catch you then. And videos will drop between now and then. Anyway, that's a wrap for the stream. Thank you for hanging out with me. Have a good rest of your Monday night. Until next time, as always, peace out.